Hello and welcome everybody. I'm Christine Keenest. I'm going to give everybody just another couple seconds to pop in there. I see people still coming in the webinar, so I'll give everybody just another moment. It looks like it's slowing down folks joining us. So like I said, I'm Christine Keenest. I'm the Employee Relations Manager with HR. So thank you all for joining us today. Jennifer and I, I'll let Jennifer introduce herself in just a moment, but Jennifer and I have been really looking forward to this. We're excited to talk to you about all of the different leaves that the county offers. So I think this will be really great. So Jennifer, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Christine. So good morning, everyone. I'm Jennifer Whitener, and I'm the Benefits Manager here with Larimer County. So Christine and I are going to be splitting up the presentation today. So Christine's going to be covering the first portion. So I'll turn it over to you, Christine.
All right, great. Yeah, so as Jennifer said, I'm going to cover the first sort of chunk of the slides and things that we have to talk about, and then Jennifer will finish us out. So if anybody has any questions at any point in time, please feel free to ask your questions. We're here to answer those and to clarify and to help you all sort of understand everything that we offer. So please just type those into the chat and we'll have Jennifer Glover keep an eye on that. And then at the end, Jennifer and I will answer some questions for you all. So just ask the questions as they occur to you and then we'll come back to them. So our goal with this really is to just clarify, Jennifer and I were talking and realized we offer a lot of benefits. We offer a whole lot of benefits just in general, which is really overwhelming for folks sometimes. But we also offer a lot of leaves. And so we get a lot of questions, both Jennifer's team with the benefits team, and then I manage the generalist team. And we both get a lot of questions on our teams about what leave should I take? What should I be using? What should I put on my timesheet? What other options do I have? Those kind of things. So we just wanted to clarify it for everybody, and we by no means expect you to memorize this or go back and memorize policy, but it's just to kind of put these in your mind so that as you're sorting through things, you have some idea of what you might use for or what you might request if you are needing something. So you are always welcome to reach out to the generalist team or the benefits team with any questions. We're always super happy to help out with that. We're glad to talk with any of you and answer questions. And then as you have questions, you're also always welcome to reach out to Erin Schmidt, who is our leave administrator or our leave specialist. And she is super helpful and really great with helping folks work through leaves as well. So mainly what we're going to be talking about today are some of the paid leaves. There are a lot of other leaves available, and I'll get started on the slides, but probably one of the biggest leaves that we will not be talking about today is family medical leave, and that's because it could be a whole other webinar in and of itself. It is a lot. So for any of you who are managers and supervisors, you are welcome to take the leave course that is an absorb. And then if any of you employees are curious, we can see if we can get you enrolled or get you some more information as well. But there's a whole lot of information about family medical leave that's available to you. And if you ever are wondering if it's the right leave for you, or if you want to get more information about it, like I said, any of our teams are happy to help. Erin is also always happy to talk to people about family medical leave. So lots of resources for you there. So there's a few different things we want to talk about. Why does the county even offer leave benefits in the first place? Why do we do that? There are a few different reasons. And the first one is really to increase your total compensation as an employee beyond just the salary component. So you may earn your $50,000 a year, $60,000 a year, your whatever your hourly wages. But the county offers thousands of dollars of benefits on top of that really increases the compensation we give you. So I know none of us get into doing government work because we think we're going to become millionaires and get rich working here. We all work here because we care about our community. And so we can't offer you as much money as we would probably like to offer you, but we can offer you a really rich benefits plan that will hopefully enhance your life. So that is part of the reason that we offer those leave benefits, is to really enrich what you are getting from us as an employer. We also really want to create an attractive employment package so that we can recruit some awesome folks, and so we can also keep all of you awesome people who work for us. So we get really fantastic people that walk in our doors, get really wonderful employees, and we want to hang on to you if you want to be here. So we really want to do what we can to support your life and your family so that you can stick around and keep working here. So we really want that attractive employment package, not only to get folks in the door, but also to hang on to you. And then the third reason is really to achieve a high level of employee satisfaction. And I know generally when we talk to people, we get really great feedback on our benefits. There's a lot of satisfaction with our benefits. Anytime I do an exit interview, I think the number one thing people are happy with is the benefits here. So, our team and Jennifer's team does a really great job on getting benefits that are valuable to people. But we really want to keep that high level of employee satisfaction and keep our employees happy with the things that we offer. And then on top of that, the county also has some compliance obligations. So there are certain leaves that we are legally obligated to offer, both state and federally. So family medical leave is one of those federal requirements. I'll be mentioning some of the state leave requirements, but there's sort of state and federal requirements all over the place too. All right. So who is eligible for our leaves? Probably most of you, not all of you, are all of our regular and limited term folks who are working at least 20 hours a week are eligible for our benefits. So if you are full or part-time, it doesn't matter, you're still eligible as long as you're working at 20 hours a week. Part-time is defined as 20 to 39 hours, and then full-time is 40 hours a week. So either way, you will get benefits. And then some of those benefits, especially the ones that Jennifer will talk about when we get to vacation, are prorated for folks who work part-time, but they still get the benefits. And that's really ultimately because they need less hours to take off because they're working fewer hours. All right. So these are the different leave types that Jennifer and I will be talking about today. I will be going over administrative leave, bereavement leave, and emergency leave. And then Jennifer will hop in here and finish us out with holiday leave, clinic leave, and then sick and vacation. And then you will hear the term decision maker used quite a bit. And that refers to generally an elected official. It can also be a service area director or a department head. So it's really the person for your department or office who makes those final leave decisions. Right. And then just to note, as a general rule, temporary employees are not eligible for our benefits. There is a state requirement that we provide sick leave. So if you are a temporary employee or if you manage temporary employees, they receive an hour of sick leave for every 30 hours they work. And then it's capped out up at about 48 hours a year. So they get sort of a different leave accrual and they're in a different category because that is something that is legally required by the state of Colorado. Okay. So the first type of leave we'll start with is talking about administrative leave. In prior years, we used administrative leave as kind of a broad term. And a few years ago, we decided to narrow it down to make it really a reward type of leave, just to make it more clearly defined because it was a little loose. And really, that's what we want the goal of administrative leave to be. So any decision maker within the county has the ability to grant up to 5 days of leave, administrative leave per employee per year. It's given as a reward for things like putting in extra hours, putting in extra effort, finishing a large project, really any type of extra over and above that they're giving. Administrative leave time can be a reward, and it's up to the decision maker's discretion of how much to give and who to give it to, et cetera. They do need to be consistent, of course. So if they give administrative leave for one thing for one person, they should do it for another person as well. So consistency is important. But otherwise, if you have, say, an exempt employee who is putting in some extra hours to finish up a project, or maybe they're working, 50 hours a week for several weeks because they're covering for somebody who's on leave, or, somebody who's really gone over and above what their job description is to contribute to the team. Those are all different situations where a decision maker might award someone some administrative leave. And then the second type of leave that I'll talk about is bereavement leave. And then bereavement leave is granted by a supervisor or manager. So just note the difference as to who can grant which leaves. The admin leave is up to a decision maker. The bereavement leave is up to the authority of a supervisor. And we really wanted that to be there so it's flexible and so that employees can get the bereavement leave that they need as quickly as possible without having to run it up the chain, especially for some of those, quick notice deaths where they need to go be with a family member or go be with family, things like that. So a supervisor or a manager has the authority to grant up to 3 days of bereavement leave to an employee for each occurrence. So basically per death or per loss. So they can grant it for the death of an employee's immediate family member. And we'll talk in just a minute about what immediate family member is. But they can do it for the death of a family member. They can take bereavement leave for the death of a fellow employee. So if one of your coworkers passes away and you would like to attend their memorial services, you are able to do that. And then finally, to deal with the financial and legal matters that can arise after the death of a family member. So some of you may or may not be aware, Colorado's sick leave law was amended this year. It became effective August 7th to add bereavement leave as a reason that you can take sick leave. We chose to just leave our bereavement leave. There are some employers that probably will be rolling that into sick leave, but we wanted to keep just that separate bucket of leave for employees so that you can save your sick leave for when you're sick and use it for that, or if your family members are sick. And you can take your bereavement leave as this kind of separate bucket of leave for dealing with a loss. And so we wanted that to just stay as a separate benefit. So if you want to use your sick leave for it, you're more than welcome to, but this really gives you a separate benefit. And then that last bullet is something that is required by the state sick leave law and says that we have to allow time off to deal with the financial and legal matters that arise after a death. So if you need some time off to change bank accounts or file paperwork with the courts for somebody's estate, things like that, you can use your bereavement leave for those if you would like to as well. So again, just talk with your supervisor if you need that type of leave. And the supervisor has the authority to grant up to 3 days. If you or an employee needs more than 3 days, you can get more time under bereavement leave. It's just the request at that point has to go to the decision maker. So the supervisor can award up to 3 days initially, and then if the employee says, hey, I need 5 days because I have to go back east for a funeral and it's going to take a lot of travel time, or maybe the loss is a significant one like a spouse or a child or a close family member, and you may need some more time to grieve that loss. You can request additional time from your decision maker, and then the decision maker can make a decision as to whether to grant additional leave. The only catch to that is the decision maker has to do it equitably, meaning that if they do it in one situation, they're essentially setting a precedent that they'll have to do it again. So if they gave somebody, 7 days off for the loss of, say, a child, then they would have to give anyone else in their department who loses a child that 7 days off. So they just need to be consistent. So on this slide, we have all of the family members that are covered by bereavement leave. So immediate family members defined in policy as a spouse, parents, children, and this is something that we added to the policy when we recently sort of did an update or a refresh. We added both born and miscarried because we felt like that was really important to call out the fact that if someone has a miscarriage or someone's partner has a miscarriage, they should be able to take the time off to grieve that loss under our bereavement leave policy. So both of those are now covered in our policy. And then it's also including siblings, grandparents and grandchildren, civil union partners and domestic partners, and then that includes any sort of step, foster, or in-law relationships, and the equivalent for civil union and domestic partners. So it includes a lot of different family members and is fairly broad. So it should include probably the majority of family members that someone may be wanting to take some time off to grieve. And then it also includes anyone for whom the employee or the employee's partner is providing day-to-day care and financial support. So in that case, it could be maybe a child that, is the child of someone's best friend that has passed away, or, a child that you've taken in to care for, or, a lot of different situations. So we really wanted to cover those situations where someone is living in your household, because if they were to pass away, again, that's going to be a fairly significant loss for our staff. And the last piece there is aunts, uncles, first cousins, nieces, and nephews. So those are all of our covered family members for bereavement leave. All right, and then the next type of leave that I'll cover is emergency leave. This is probably our broadest type of leave. We traditionally put this into place to cover things like snow days. This is kind of our snow day policy that everyone kind of thinks of. And sure, it covers that. If county facilities need to be closed due to inclement weather for whatever reason, that can be covered under emergency leave. And then there's a few other things there as well. So damage to county facilities. And then there's a victim's protection leave that's in there as well. So if you were a close family member or a victim of a crime, there's some leave protection in emergency leave as well. So those are all spelled out in the policy. And then emergency leave, we've tried to really expand to cover unusual situations where someone might need some time off as well that isn't covered by one of our more traditional benefits offerings. So one thing that we've been trying to communicate more and more to supervising managers, department heads, and even just employees is, if you have a unique or unusual need for leave, just talk to us about it and see if that's something that might qualify for emergency leave. So one of the things that we have seen some departments use, and we've actually used in HR, is we've used it for loss of a pet. So sort of a pet bereavement leave, because so many of us are so attached to our pets, and it's a huge loss from your family when you lose a pet. And so in HR, we've decided for our staff, since we're all a bunch of animal lovers, that if somebody needs some time off to grieve after losing a pet, that they can request that from Bridget, who's our department head. And she can approve a day or a couple of days off so that someone can, deal with putting a pet down or grieving the loss or things like that. So it can cover that potentially if the department wants to sort of expand it to cover that. Another one that you can use it for is bereavement for somebody not noted in the policy. So we recognize that family looks a little bit different for everyone, and who you are close to can be something beyond just your blood relations. So if you have, say, a best friend that you lost, or maybe a best friend's parent was a significant person in your life and their loss is something you'd like to take the time off to go to their services or to grieve that loss, potentially emergency leave is available to cover that. So there are a lot of things that we've used emergency leave for sort of those unique situations. So again, if you find yourself in that situation where you're saying, I wonder if there's leave for this, or I wonder if we could maybe expand it to this, or why don't we have coverage for that? Just reach out to your generalist or to the benefits team and ask if that's maybe something we could use emergency leave for. Great. And then again, like other types of leave, the decision makers just need to be equitable in granting that leave. So once a decision maker decides to allow leave for a particular circumstance, they're essentially setting a precedent so that next time that situation comes up, that they then need to allow the emergency leave to be used in that situation as well. I will go ahead and turn things over to Jennifer at this point. Jennifer, do you want me to continue working the slides for you, or do you want to share your screen and control the slides?
If you want to work the slides, that's great.
All right, I'll do it.
Thanks, Christine. All right, the next type of leave we're going to cover is holiday leave. So benefited employees receive 11 paid holidays per calendar year, and holiday hours can be deferred for employees working on a holiday. We actually have that come up in HR if we happen to have payroll fall on a particular holiday. Individuals still need to get paid, and so therefore payroll may operate on a particular holiday, and so that's an example of when we would defer those hours to be used at another time. A holiday is considered an 8-hour workday for full-time employees, and we do prorate it for those who are in a part-time position as noted in the chart here. A common question we do get in terms of holiday leave, because we do have our set schedule of holidays, is, well, what if there's a holiday that I celebrate that the county isn't closed for? So prior to 2018, the county actually had a separate bucket that were 2 full paid days of what we called floating holiday leave that individuals could use for designated holidays of their choice. And what we ended up doing was, when we made that switch from our prior payroll vendor, ADP, to UKG, we just increased our vacation accrual rates by those 2 floating holiday amounts. And so we increased our vacation accrual to account for those 2 floating holidays that we had a separate bank for previously. So when you're looking at your vacation hours for the year and what you accrue, our intent, and another reason why we're doing this, is we want to educate staff to say, if there is a particular holiday that's not on our approved holiday list, that you use vacation time to account for that accordingly. Go ahead, Christine. Okay, the next type of leave we will cover is clinic leave. So clinic leave is granted to all benefit eligible employees who are enrolled in the county's health insurance, and it is for use of our wellness clinic, or if you participate in a county-sponsored screening event. So an example of a county-sponsored screening event includes flu shots, blood drives, skin cancer screenings, mammograms, or colonoscopy events. And when we promote these events and for individuals to sign up, we do always specifically note if that is an event that would qualify for you to use clinic leave. I will say, if you are a temporary employee, but you are enrolled in our medical insurance as part of the Affordable Care Act, and you happen to have an appointment at the clinic, you would be able to use clinic leave for that appointment. So we do have that special exception there. Another common question we get in terms of clinic leave is travel time. And you absolutely can use clinic leave to account for the travel time you take to get to and from the clinic. So that is another common question we get. An instance of where you could not use clinic leave would be as if you are taking a child to have an appointment there, or if you have a spouse that has an appointment at the clinic. That would be an example of when you would not use clinic leave. You would just use sick leave for those appointments. So clinic leave is specifically centric to the employee, and if the employee has an appointment at the clinic. All right, Christine. Oh, and the decision maker for your department or designee may require an employee to provide documentation in terms of showing that they did have an appointment at the clinic prior to that clinic leave being approved for payout. All right, this is a big one, so it's a couple of slides, and it is sick leave. So benefited employees accrue 4 hours of sick leave each biweekly pay period, and employees must be in a paid status for at least half of their regularly scheduled work hours in a pay period to accrue that sick leave. Eligible part-time employees also accrue sick leave. It is on a prorated basis, and we have that noted in our chart below here. And you can go to the next slide, Christy. So what can I use sick leave for? Well, you can use sick leave for your own or a family member's sickness, injury, or other medical conditions, or to attend healthcare appointments. And that includes preventive and routine exams. So I know we use the label of sick leave, but you do not necessarily have to be sick to use sick leave. We want to encourage staff to get those preventive and routine care appointments, whether it's a dental cleaning, a preventive eye exam, whatever the case may be, just your annual checkup with your doctor. Those are all types of things that would still qualify for you to use sick leave for. And in terms of family members, as it pertains to sick leave payout, family members includes the employee's spouse, parents, children, siblings, grandparents, grandchildren, partner in a civil union, domestic partner, including step, foster, and in-law relationships, and equivalent relationships of a civil union partner or domestic partner, or anyone for whom the employee or employee's partner provide day-to-day care and financial support. So this is the exact same definition that we had under bereavement leave. So this also was updated so that we were consistent in our policy. So it's something, again, that you don't have to be sick necessarily to use sick leave if you're doing that for a preventive appointment. And you can use it for your family members if you need to take care of them when they are sick, or if they have their own preventive appointment to go to, you can use sick leave for that as well. All right, next slide. You can also use sick leave to attend the birth of your child, to care for or bond with the child after birth, or for placement of a child when they are adopted or placed with you for foster care. So that just needs to be within 1 year after the birth or placement. Employees may use sick leave to care for a family member whose school or place of care has been closed due to inclement weather, loss of power, loss of heating, loss of water, or any other unexpected event, or to evacuate the employee's place of residence due to those same unexpected events. So again, the Colorado paid sick leave law was recently updated to add this in as an event that will qualify for you to use sick leave. And so we updated our policy language as well to account and mirror for that. Something that employees may not be familiar with is a term we call sick leave without pay. So some employees may be in a particular circumstance where they've exhausted their sick leave bank, and they may be eligible for what we call sick leave without pay. So there are particular instances where criteria must be met in order for you to qualify. So the first is that an employee would not be eligible for family medical leave. So either they don't have enough hours worked yet to qualify for family medical leave, or they've exhausted that family medical leave bank. If we have an employee who does not want to use their paid leave balances, and that's something I just want to pause for a moment and call out because individuals may not be aware that you have a choice in terms of whether or not you want to use those paid leave balances. That is your choice. And so I want to note that here. And then for those who do want to use their paid leave balances, and if you've exhausted those, but you're still sick, you still need to be out for a medical reason, these are all instances where someone could qualify for sick leave without pay. So the initial period for sick leave without pay may not exceed 3 months. And at every 3-month interval, the decision maker will need to grant approval for that sick leave without pay to continue because of the impact that that potentially can have to your department. And the other thing to note here is that sick leave without pay cannot exceed more than 12 continuous months in total. Okay. The next leave type we'll talk about here is vacation leave. So newly hired eligible employees will begin accruing vacation leave with the first full pay period of employment. And you must be in a paid status for at least half of your regularly scheduled work hours in a pay period to accrue vacation leave. So similar to what we mentioned when we talked about sick leave and the need for you to be in that paid status in order for those hours to accrue. There is a schedule as noted in the chart here below in terms of how vacation leave is accrued and paid based upon your hours worked and your status. So we've noted that here. And so you'll see that it does incrementally increase as your years of service increase. And there is a maximum accrual point once you hit the 15+ year mark that we've established here. All right, our last slide, which I think is really important and something else that a lot of folks don't know about, is how leave is paid out at separation. And so in the event you were to separate from the county, the different leave banks that we offer get paid out differently. So with vacation leave, employees are paid for all unused vacation leave that's in their bank when they separate from the county. And you're paid using your current pay rate at the time of your separation. So pretty cut and dry. Goes on your last paycheck. Because that could be a very large amount, depending on whether or not you've used your vacation, what some employees will do is contact our team and say, you know what, instead of getting the tax hit and having that large amount on my final paycheck, I would like to have that deposited into my retirement account as a lump sum contribution instead to avoid that large tax hit. And so that's something to think about in the event you were to separate from the county and you have a large vacation bank. Holiday leave, employees are also paid for any unused holiday leave that you may have up to the maximum carryover limit. So as I mentioned, if you have a deferred holiday bank, for hours worked during a holiday, then those hours would also be paid out in full. Sick leave is a bit more unique. So if anyone has been with the county 5 years or more, a percentage of your sick leave bank will be paid out to you in the form of a lump sum one-time contribution into a health reimbursement account. So if you have been with the county between 5 to 10 years of continuous service, we will say, how many hours do you have in your sick leave bank? We will take that times 35%. So if you had 100 hours, we would say you have 35 hours that we will take times your current pay rate at the time of separation. And that is the amount that would be deposited into your health reimbursement account. It is done on a pre-tax basis, and any interest you earn in that account is also earned pre-tax. And any distributions from that health reimbursement account are also done on a pre-tax basis. So you can use the funds in that HRA to pay for COBRA premiums or Medicare supplement plan premiums or any eligible medical expenses that you or your spouse may have as well. And for employees who have been with the county 10 or more years of continuous service, that amount that we calculate bumps up to 50% of your available hours remaining to be deposited into that account. And so we have a full guide, it's referred to as the offboarding guide, that provides you all the details in terms of that health reimbursement account and how it works if you would like more information. So we've listed here just some helpful resources that we hope you'll use for future reference. The first is just a recommendation to bookmark our benefits policy page, which we've listed up at the top of the screen here. And we have this handy QR code that if you scan, it'll take you right to it. Again, we don't expect you to memorize these things, but it is nice to know where the information is. So that's why we wanted to include it here. And of course, you can always contact the Human Resources team for specific questions you may have. And we've kind of sectioned out here who you would contact depending on the question. for the particular leave type you're interested in. But you can always contact your HR generalist, or if you just have a go-to person in an HR that you like to work with, always feel free to just reach out to them and we can point you in the right direction as needed. So with that, we will open it up to Q&A. So Jen, can you talk us through the questions we've got so far?
I told Jen that I would do it. So
oh, okay,
I've
great.
been monitoring our questions as you were talking, so I'll questions. So the first one is for me, and it's asking about the emergency leave. It's just asking if it's for a day or if it's for something else. And it really is for basically a reasonable amount of time, whatever the decision maker thinks is reasonable. So it might be a day, with a pet bereavement, or if you're going to a funeral, say for a best friend who lives out of state, it might be multiple days. So it just depends on what is reasonable for the circumstances that you're requesting. We have had some unusual situations where folks have done like a week or a couple of weeks. So it really depends. It could be a day or it could potentially be more. Let's see. And then I hear another question. When you say decision maker, who is the decision maker for admin leave? So the decision maker for admin leave, so for basically anything but bereavement leave, the decision maker is going to be your department head. If you're an elected office, it could be your elected official or chief deputy. Or if you work directly for one of the service area leads, it could be them, or otherwise it will be your department head. So whoever is over your specific department. And the next question for you, Jennifer, is what qualifies as a civil union or domestic partner for sick leave?
So it would be as defined legally in whatever state you reside. So it would be based upon how the state of Colorado defines that legal union or relationship. It's similar to if you were in Wyoming, we would go based upon how Wyoming defines that.
Yep. So the Colorado law refers back to a registered civil union or domestic partner. There was a law that passed, probably 10 years ago now in Colorado that says that you have to register with the state. So that's what is covered under that. All right, there's some in the Q&A, so I'll get those. One of them is, Jennifer, did you say not to use travel time for clinic leave?
No, so you can use clinic leave for travel time. So if it takes you an hour to get there and an hour back, you would use clinic leave for those hours of travel as well.
Great. And then what is the maximum amount of vacation time we can accumulate in 1 year? Ooh, that might be doing some math.
Yeah, I was going to say that varies by hours, average hours worked, and also your years of service that you've worked for the county. So if I'm just using average hours worked as 40 hours a week, if you're in the 0 to 5 years, it's 175.5 hours. If you're at 5 to 10 years, it's 204.75. If you're at 10 to 15 years, it's 243.75. And if you're at 15 or more years, it's 282.75.
Great, thank you. All right, what is annual leave? I keep seeing people put that in their out of office responses. You want to take that one? I have seen that as well. I'll mention this. Typically when people use the phrase annual leave, they're referring to their vacation leave. So I think that may be an old term that has been stuck around in some departments. There are some departments in particular that I see using that. So typically they're referring to vacation leave. Jennifer, do you have anything different to add to that?
That is my knowledge in terms of that term as well.
Okay. What is the appropriate type of leave for a mental health day? Is that sick leave or something else?
I would say that I would think that sick leave would be an appropriate use of a mental health day, because again, mental health is just another part of your overall physical health. And so I would say that sick leave is appropriate to use. If you do not have sick leave available to you to use, you can also use vacation leave. A vacation day is your personal day to do whatever you need or want to do. And so in the event that you don't have sick leave available, you could also use vacation leave for that.
Okay, great. There's a question, could you talk about some of the options for maternity leave?
Sure. So that's going to fall under family medical leave, which we aren't going to talk about in depth for today, but family medical leave is intended for you to use in the event you need to go out on maternity leave. You do also have the ability to use any sick leave balance that you've accrued for that time off. And also you can use vacation leave in the event that you've exhausted your sick leave bank.
And I'll just pipe in too with maternity leave for the moms or whoever gives birth to the child. They have some time that they can take off that if they run out of sick leave, they can use short-term disability. We haven't talked about short-term disability because it's not a leave. It's really a pay replacement benefit, but we do have short-term disability available to maternity leaves. And then if somebody's not qualified for family medical leave yet, so if you've been here less than a year, then that sick leave without pay or using your sick leave or things like that can help as well. And then let's see. And then another question along the maternity leave question, if both you and your partner work for the county, how does that leave work? Are you both granted the same amount of time or a combined leave?
And so that is legally required for us to have that as combined leave in terms of eligible FMLA hours that you can use. But if you have your own sick leave banks that you've accrued, you could certainly use those as well as any separate vacation leave that you have.
Yeah. So that goes back to if you're taking family medical leave, if it's spouses, you have to combine your family bonding leave, but that means the mom still gets 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the birth, that is just for her to recover from giving birth to the child. And then that it's really just that bonding leave that is combined. So sometimes people get that confused. So if you're in that situation, just make sure you talk to Erin and she'll make sure to really clarify your rights around that. Okay, can you reference back to the other reasons that have been added for sick leave? I don't see them in the policy. You mentioned it was a new state requirement. And I'll answer that. I think, Sally, we've been having, so some of you may know Vicki Lucero, who helped with our policies for a long, long time, and it was amazing. Just recently retired, and so we're transitioning the process of getting policies updated and who gets them added to the website and all of those things. So it has not gotten added to the website. It has been approved by the commissioners. It was approved about 2 weeks ago. So hopefully this week it should be up there. So we were just waiting for somebody to get back from vacation leave to be able to get that uploaded to the website. So if you want to see the new ones, I'm happy to send you a copy of the policy, but hopefully sometime in the next day or two, you'll see that up on the website. Let's see. Another question, I was also curious about any options for maternity leave with FMLA, sick time, et cetera. I think we've already kind of answered that one. So if you have additional questions there, please feel free to reach out to Jennifer, me, Erin, or anybody on either our teams. You can also reach out to your HR generalist and they can help with that. All right. What is considered a mental health day?
That's not defined. So what mental health day means to you is going to be different than what it means to the next person. So we don't have a definition of mental health day.
Right. Okay, and Jen Glover just said she'll have the policy updated on the website later today. So for anybody that's looking for it. And then somebody's asking, did the accrued vacation go up?
No, not to my knowledge. It hasn't gone up recently, but we appreciate the question.
Yeah, it went up, like Jennifer mentioned, in 2018 when we went to UKG because we added in those days. And if you're someone that has recently seen it go up, it's probably because you jumped one of those categories that Jennifer mentioned. So you may have gone from your 5 years to your 6 year, or your 4 years to your 5 years, and now you're in the new accrual category. Let's see. And then for admin leave, can we ask if we can work more hours when we are not able to complete a project during our 40 hours towards this, or how do we request it? So this partly depends on whether you're exempt or non-exempt. So if you're non-exempt, meaning you get paid for overtime if you work anything over 40 hours, then you need to request that from your supervisor. If you feel like you're unable to get your job done during your 40 hours during the week, just talk with your supervisor and communicate that to them. And it might be, if it's an ongoing issue, they might talk with you about prioritization or maybe handing off duties or things like that. If it's a short-term thing, like maybe you're covering for a leave or you have a special project you're working on, they may authorize some overtime. But otherwise, if you're an exempt employee, meaning you don't get paid for overtime, that's sometimes when you might see a decision maker if someone is, regularly or for a short period of time working more than their hours, the decision maker might authorize some admin leave. So if you're exempt and say you're covering for somebody on maternity leave, you could talk to your decision maker and say, hey, I'm working a lot of extra hours covering for so-and-so. Is there, would you consider giving me some admin leave as a reward or, to thank me for that? And then they can make that decision. Let's see. And the answer from the employee is it's short-term for a special project. So I wasn't sure about the admin leave when you say we have 5 hours. So yeah, so if you're an exempt employee and in the short term, you're working some extra hours on a special project, just talk with your decision maker and just say, hey, is there any way that I could get some admin leave for working this extra time? Another option too is if somebody's temporarily doing a project or filling in for somebody, there is the opportunity for out of title pay. That's usually for something that's kind of like 8 weeks or longer. So if that's the case, you can talk with your decision maker about that as well. Okay, and I think
Christine, I saw one we might have missed where it said, can we plan a mental health day in advance and use sick leave? So the answer to that would be yes, just like if you had, a doctor's appointment or, a preventive exam scheduled in advance, you can set that time aside and use that time accordingly.
Okay. All right, well, I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat or Q&A, but I'll give everyone just another couple minutes to add in those questions. And then, like I mentioned before, if you walk away from this and you're like, oh, dang, I wish I would have asked them this, please feel free to reach out to me or Jennifer, your generalist, anybody in HR. We'll be happy to help you and answer any questions. All right, I'm not seeing any more questions. Anything you wanted to say to close things out, Jennifer?
Oh. Yes. So, I would just reiterate, as Christine mentioned, if you have questions on any of the leave policies we've covered today or did not cover today, reach out to HR and just ask. We're here to be a resource for you, and it's confidential and at your convenience. So either call, email us, set up an appointment to see us in person. We're here to help and make sure you feel confident in the benefit leave types that we offer here at the county. So, we really thank you for attending today's presentation. This was recorded, so we will be able to distribute it out to those who may have registered and who aren't able to attend, or if you would just like to listen to it again on your own free time, please feel free to do so as well. We will be holding another live webinar tomorrow at noon. If you know anyone who may be interested in attending. So please feel free to get the word out on that as well. And that's all I've got.
Great. I see one last question that popped up in there. Does sick leave cover taking a child to a therapy appointment, for example, OT or mental health?
Yes, it does.
All right. Awesome. Well, it looks like that's all we have. So yeah, I'll just say thank you to you all, and please feel free to reach out if you have questions. Bye.
Bye.